Number 18. Aye Lemur. If there's one thing for which Madagascar is famous, it must be lemurs. It's the only place on Earth where you'll find these primates living in the wild. And perhaps one of the scariest looking critters is the aye. If you don't know its name, you'll certainly remember its distinctive face. Natives believe that if you come across this animal, it means that someone soon is going to die, and it's a bad omen. I mean, the poor thing does look a little demonic, but its appearance often leads to it getting killed. It has a long, thin, alien-like middle finger and teeth that grow forever like a rodent. It uses its middle finger to tap on trees to find grubs and then pull them out. The aye has been hunted for many years and is now on the endangered species list. Due to their appearance and ancient beliefs, they are feared. However, they are harmless. Fun fact, they're the only primates believed to use echolocation. Number 17. Ghost snake. Researchers found a new species of cat-eyed snake on a path inside the isolated Ancona National Park of Madagascar, and due to the critter's pale grey coloration, it was named the ghost snake. Cat-eyed snakes have vertical pupils and are more commonly found in developed areas. Experts say they've never seen a cat-eyed snake with such unusual coloration or distinct patterns. While the pale coloration would seem to make it a target, scientists think it might help the reptile to escape predators. Analysis has confirmed the ghost snake is a distinct species, but more research is pending. So far, it's the only one of its kind found. Number 16. Traveller's palm. This is one of Madagascar's most famous species of endemic plants, and it's difficult to overlook because it grows some 23 feet high. Distinguished by huge, paddle-shaped leaves in a fan-like arrangement, its large white flowers produce blue seeds when pollinated. The common name has a couple of explanations. The plant's stems allegedly hold rainwater, which can be used as an emergency reservoir for weary travellers. Another explanation is that the plant serves as a primitive compass, because the plant's fan shape is aligned with an east-west direction. FYI, we're told that the water inside the plant should never be consumed without first being purified. Number 15. Black and white ruffed lemur. This next fluffy animal is probably familiar from the Madagascar movies, but of course there's more to the lemur than just dancing around the rainforest making jokes. In some ways they're quite mysterious in that not much is known about how they're distributed across their habitats. You can find them in Madagascar's eastern rainforest, as well as on an island with a really cool name, Nosy Mingabe. The black and white ruffled variety is also one large lemur. It can weigh up to 9 pounds and is among the biggest of its species. But one of the best things about this not-so-little lemur is the way it helps its environment by spreading pollen. When they feed, pollen is attached to those ruffs on their faces. When they move on to the next tree, the pollen goes with them. They play a very important role in Madagascar's ecosystem and are considered critically endangered. Number 14. Pygmy mouse lemur. At a mere 5 inches long and weighing only 2 ounces, these animals are recognised as the world's second smallest species of mouse lemurs. Also known as the Peters mouse lemur, they were discovered by the Western world in Madagascar in 1993. Its minimal size made it difficult to locate for more than a century. They live in groups of around 15 and can jump nimbly from tree to tree. Not much is known about them, but they're severely threatened due to their cuteness. Many people want them as pets, and getting captured and losing their limited habitat is severely hurting this animal as well as most of the animals in Madagascar. Number 13. Leaf-nosed snake. It almost looks like it should be called a spear-nosed snake due to its odd nasal appendages that sprout from their faces. That's one way to tell the females from the males. The females have nasal protrusions that are more serrated and complex. The male's protrusions are pointier and longer. These snakes like to hang from branches high in the trees where they can ambush prey, and their noses play a major role in this. The snake's appendage resembles the leaves or seed pods that some arboreal lizards feed on. As the snakes lay camouflaged, they can easily strike before their meal escapes. And now for number 12, but first be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know your favourite animal from Madagascar in the comments below. Number 12. Prehistoric Groundhogs. Punxsutawney Phil is known for giving his annual weather prognostication every February 2nd. More than 60 million years ago, his distant ancestor Ventana was known for being one of the largest mammals found in its era. Its fossils have been found in Madagascar, although there's still a lot to learn about them. Scientists estimate this animal would have weighed about 20 pounds. Considering that the biggest modern groundhogs weigh in at around 14 pounds, these ancient animals would have cast a much larger shadow. Number 11. Tsingy National Park. This one is neither plant nor animal, but it earns a spot thanks to its unique nature, and this location does contain some unique plant and animal life too. In western Madagascar, you'll find one of the world's largest stone forests. Known as the immense Grand Tsingy, it's a labyrinth of water-eroded limestone structures that rise some 300 feet and are razor sharp. The area extends for around 230 square miles in the isolated western portion of the country. Experts say the unusual formations are the result of tropical rain eroding the limestone over time and forming those razor-sharp pinnacles. Despite the inhospitable appearance, many animals call the isolated region home. Sifaka lemurs, identified by their distinct panda-like coloration, can be found here. In addition, you'll find the ring-tailed mongoose, nearly 50 species of reptiles, various plant life, and more than 100 species of birds. Number 10. Giraffe Weevil. This critter looks like the result of a Photoshop session, but the giraffe weevil is native to Madagascar, and it's easy enough to see the resemblance to its much larger namesake. It was only discovered in 2008 and is still something of a mystery. You might think the insect's long neck is used for foraging food, but it's really used for combat. The necks of males are up to 3 times longer than females and enable them to aggressively fight for mates. The bright, vibrant red shell not only covers the insect's wings, it also serves to warn off competitors. Number 9. Tomato frogs. This amphibian doesn't possess that bright, vibrant hue just for show. Its bright coloration is a warning for predators to keep their distance. If a predator still isn't convinced, the frog will puff out its body as a warning, and if all that doesn't work, then the frog will secrete a thick toxin that gums up the eyes and mouth of whatever predator catches them. That's usually enough to set the frog free. Did you know that only the females display this vivid coloration? The males usually have a brownish-orange colour that's more drab. Number 8. Flat-tailed geckos. These reptiles are found in the eastern part of Madagascar along with nearby islands. Growing to about 13 inches, they're strictly nocturnal animals due to their light-sensitive eyes. Although they can see colours at night, their eyes are about 350 times more sensitive to light than human eyes. During the day, they'll stick to small tree trunks to rest. You know if their sleep time is disturbed. Scientists say that these geckos will open its mouth wide and scream. Number 7. Hissing cockroaches. You'll find one of the world's largest species of cockroach in Madagascar, assuming you really want to find them, that is. Growing to about 3 inches at maturity, they're often found inside rotting logs. There are about 20 species of these big hissing roaches, and unlike most of their brethren, these insects are wingless. The hissing noise is created by forcefully expelling air through small openings in their body segments. The sounds can be used for purposes of attracting mates or to signal disturbance. Not surprisingly, their hissing ability has made these insects very popular in the pet trade. Number 6. Panther Chameleon. Why does the common name of this reptile refer to a cat? Because when they were first described in the 19th century, the chameleon's spotted pattern was reminiscent of a leopard or panther. These specimens can display unusually vibrant hues, and that's especially true for males when they're courting. Their coloration can also disclose what part of the country they come from. Scientists have noted that specimens from the northwest parts of Madagascar display a coloration that is reddish or pink, so those animals are often nicknamed pink panthers. Many other patterns and colours will occur within and between regions. This species is also known for having an extremely long tongue. There's a club-like structure at the tip which is covered in thick mucus and forms a suction cup. Once the tip has adhered to prey, it is rapidly reeled back into the reptile's mouth where its powerful jaws crush and consume it. Number 5. Avenue of Baobabs. The baobab tree has 9 species and 6 of them are native to Madagascar. They're noted for their unusual shape and can reach heights of nearly 100 feet. In the western part of Madagascar, there's a famous display of these trees lining a dirt road. It's known as the Avenue of Baobabs and runs more than 850 feet. Experts say the trees once stood in a dense forest. As the country's population expanded, the forest was cleared for agricultural purposes, but the locals preserved the baobabs for their value as a source of building materials and a food source. The trees bear a large, dry fruit that contains an edible pulp and seeds, and its bark is made of long, tough fibres that are used for making rope. Number 4. Madame Berthe's house lemur. Like I mentioned before, the Pygmy marmoset is the world's second smallest primate. For those of you who guessed, Madame Berthe's mouse lemur, or Berthe's lemur for short, is number 1. This little guy is less than 100mm long and weighs only 30 grams. Berthe's lemur resides mainly in Corindi Matia National Park, located in western Madagascar. This nocturnal species has very large eyes to help it see at night. It was only recently discovered in 1992 and was only categorized as its own species as recently as the year 2000. Everyone at first confused it with the pygmy lemur. The tiny lemur eats fruit, chameleons, and honeydew from larvae. Because of their small stature, Berthe's lemurs are vulnerable to predators, including humans, who are degrading its habitat via the illegal logging industry. Deforestation has severely affected them, and they're listed as endangered at best. While they are cute, scientists advise people to keep bare skin away from them because they can be fierce. Number 3. Amazing arachnids. Darwin's bark spiders first made news in 2009 when it was discovered they spin the world's largest spider webs. This species of orb weaver spider has since become known for the engineering skills possessed by the tiny females. They can shoot strands of silk in continuous flows that form bridges across the water to catch insects like mayflies. The epic orb webs can measure about 6 feet wide, while spanning some 80 feet over rivers. Researchers say the webs remain stable over such long distances because the spider silk is stronger than steel. The silk has the potential to be one of the world's strongest biological materials and might even be comparable to Kevlar. Number 2. Brucacea micra chameleon. Minuscule enough to fit on the tip of a match head, this is the smallest known chameleon. At a mere 1.1 inches, it also places among the smallest vertebrates overall. It was found on a small, remote island located in the Nosihara archipelago off the Madagascar coastline sometime between 2003 and 2007, and was only described in 2012. Number 1. The Fusser. Is it a dog? Is it a cat? Experts say that even though the fusser has a snout that appears canine and a body that appears feline, they're closely related to mongooses and belong to that family. These nocturnal beasts are one of the few predators that are native to Madagascar. Adult specimens can measure around 19 pounds and grow to about 6.5 feet long. Their tails make them extremely agile and can be nearly as long as their body. When they come out at night, they feed on birds and reptiles. But they have an extremely strong appetite for lemurs, which comprise more than half of the fusser's diet. When fussers were portrayed in the movie Madagascar as being feared by lemurs, that description was spot on. Number 15. Mediterranean jellyfish. One factor that enables species to take hold in new areas is climate change. There is no better example of this than what is happening in the Mediterranean Sea. You can deny it all you want, people, but the sea creatures don't lie. The waters in the area are now a few degrees warmer than in the past, and this warmth stays around longer during the year. This has made it the ideal breeding ground for various species of jellyfish that previously would never have ventured into the cool waters. Population numbers have been increasing for a while, but they got a massive boost in 2015 when the Suez Canal was widened. This gave the jellyfish a quick route into the Mediterranean, and their numbers have flourished. The problem with jellyfish is that they're incredibly difficult to get rid of, and with the ability to lay up to 45,000 eggs in a single day, as well as cloning themselves forever and ever, their presence is on the rise. Authorities are trying to stop them from spreading since their large numbers are affecting tourism and hurting local aquatic animals. The chances of actually eliminating the problem are thought to be minimal. If you're going for a swim in the Mediterranean, watch out for the jellyfish. Number 14. Green iguanas. These lizards have more in common with humans than you think, and this is particularly true in South Florida. Iguanas enjoy the nice scenery and swimming pools where they're often found. They've also been known to hit the links at golf courses and are commonly seen around pedestrians on sidewalks. At around 5.5 feet long and weighing 9 pounds, the reptiles have been breeding rapidly in the areas where pet owners dumped them. That includes Miami suburbs and the Keys, where packs of them swarm over sea walls and leave behind trails of filth as they roam through parks. Many citizens complain that there's just no escaping these cold-blooded critters which continue multiplying like rabbits. Number 13. Asian carp. Asian carp are a strong lesson about how foreign species can affect an entire ecosystem. Now, many waterways in the United States are suffering from what was initially a well-motivated decision. They were introduced in the southeast to clear vast areas of weeds and parasites in order to breathe new life into the rivers. But the surprising and unforeseen consequences have come at a high price. The four main species of Asian carp that cause problems, the bighead, black, grass, and silver, are tough, have few predators, and can lay hundreds of thousands of eggs at a time. They're also able to jump small distances out of the water, which lets them cross dams and barriers. It's a pretty talented fish, I have to give it that. This jumping ability, along with flooding, have allowed the species to spread up the Mississippi River and further. In the areas they reach, they eat all the natural food sources which cause the native species to die out. Their large numbers are compromising the water quality, which makes it less safe to drink and kills the delicate native organisms like mussels. Number 12. Giant hogweed. Moving from the animal kingdom, we've listed a couple of invasive plant species that are cause for concern. This one is also known as the giant cow parsnip, and in certain parts of the world it's considered to be a very invasive plant species, reaching heights of 20 feet with a stem that can measure 4 inches in diameter. This is definitely one of the scariest stationary plants out there. It's rightly considered a noxious weed due to its phototoxic sap. Upon exposure to sunlight or ultraviolet rays, it causes redness, itching, and blisters on the skin. Burn wounds can require hospitalization, and resultant scarring may not heal for several years. It's native to Central Asia but was introduced to the UK as an ornamental plant in the 19th century. From there it has spread across Europe, the US, and Canada. And now for number 11, but first be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what the scariest invader is for you in the comments below. Number 11. Javan Mongooses. While this species originates in the South and Southeast Asia, they've been introduced to many regions as a form of pest control. That includes Hawaii and certain parts of the Caribbean where rats threatened the sugarcane industry in the 1800s. While the mongooses were a successful deterrent, they themselves ended up becoming major pests. Wherever they've been introduced, these animals nearly always pose a threat to various forms of native wildlife. In Hawaii, they preyed on birds and endangered sea turtles. In the Caribbean, they threatened green iguanas and wiped out certain lizards. In some areas, these animals have caused the local extinction of snakes. The animals can adapt to a wide variety of habitats and now occur in Europe and Central South America in addition to other locations. They're typically ranked as one of the world's worst invasive species. Number 10. Green anacondas. Specimens of these big reptiles captured in Florida have measured around 9 feet long. Those were probably juveniles because a mature anaconda can measure more than 17 feet and weigh over 150 pounds. That makes them the world's heaviest known snakes, and they're one of the longest as well. Although the reptiles originate in the swamps and marshes of South America, many of them were adopted as pets in other regions. Very often, the animals were released into the wild by their owners after growing too large to keep. Unfortunately, that's a fairly common story when exotic animals are concerned. With these big beasts in the picture, local ecosystems could be shaken up as the serpents surpass gators and bobcats as the region's top predators. Number 9. Murder hornets. That's a scary rebrand for these insects, but you might know them better as Asian giant hornets. They're one of the most feared hornets in the world thanks to their potent venom and aggressive behaviour. With a body that measures nearly 2 inches long, they're about the size of your thumb, so it's no shock to learn that they're the largest hornets known to exist. Originating in East Asia, they're infamous for their excruciating sting, which victims have described as a white-hot, searing pain. In Japan, they're estimated to kill dozens of people annually. In late 2019, the creatures were observed in Washington state. That was the first time they were reported in the US, and it sparked fears that they could become a potentially deadly invasive species throughout North America. Those fears were enhanced when swarms of them attacked a beekeeper on Vancouver Island. So far, scientists haven't figured out how the hornets arrived in the US, although they may have been transported by international cargo. A better estimate of their population could be made during the summer and fall. That's when they're most active and could pose a major threat to native bees in North America. Number 8. Kudzu. This fast-growing vine was first introduced to the US in 1876 and is native to Japan. Its intended purpose was to assist in inhibiting soil erosion, but kudzu has been spreading across the US at the rate of around 150,000 acres each year. Experts tell us that the vine can grow up to 12 inches each day. These invasive plants cause ecological and environmental damage when they outcompete native flora by overgrowing them. That blocks the available light and causes the native species to die out. Many sources consider kudzu to be the most invasive and aggressive plants in the world. Number 7. Northern snakehead fish. This animal is sometimes called fishzilla because it can grow nearly 5 feet long and can weigh over 18 pounds. They originate in China, but they have been introduced to other parts of the world where they've become highly invasive species. That includes the US, where they first showed up in 2002. Their ferocious appetites led snakeheads to eradicate not only native fish, but also amphibians and crustaceans. Wildlife officials offered local fishermen cash rewards to catch and kill snakeheads. Efforts have been made to electrocute the animals where they're clustered together in the water, but they're tough to get rid of. Experts say these animals can survive several days out of the water and migrate across short distances on land. Number 6. Cane toads. They're big beasts, with Guinness reporting that the largest known specimen measured 14 inches and weighed over 5 pounds. Their ferocious appetites endanger many native species, and toxins found in the amphibian's skin often kill any predator that tries to eat them. Cane toads get their name from sugarcane. In the past, farmers introduced the amphibians to protect their crops from local pests. Ironically, the amphibians became a serious pest in their own right. Native to Central and South America, they were exported to many regions of the planet, and they've gained a notorious reputation wherever they go. They've proven to be a particular problem in Australia. In 1935, around 102 of them were introduced to subdue the greyback cane beetle. Less than a century later, there were more than 2 billion cane toads in Oz, and they aren't leaving anytime soon. Number 5. Feral monkeys. Rhesus macaque monkeys can weigh about 17 pounds and are identified by their pink faces. While native to Central and Southeast Asia, they're listed as a globally invasive species. Because they are habitat flexible, the animals have been able to establish field populations from Brazil to Puerto Rico. In the US, the animals were thought to have been released or escaped into the wild after zoos or wildlife parks were destroyed by hurricanes. In one documented case from 1938, a colony of rhesus macaques were released into the wild as part of a tour cruise promotion in Florida. The highly intelligent and aggressive animals can force out many native species, and because they carry transmittable viruses like herpes B, they can pose a danger to humans. Number 4. Asian tiger mosquito. Mosquitoes are generally viewed as pests, but this one is especially nasty. Identified by their black and white markings which resemble tiger-like stripes, the insects are native to Southeast Asia rainforests but have spread across the globe to Africa, Europe, and the United States. They're adaptable to a variety of habitats and thrive as easily in urban areas as in the tropics. Unlike many other mosquitoes, this species is active during the day and will keep a close proximity with humans. After females lay their eggs near fresh or stagnant water, they'll feed on humans and other animals with rapid bites. By some estimates, they can inflict 50 bites within about 15 minutes. That rapidity allows the insect to quickly fly off after eating and avoid being swatted. Those bites can be potentially dangerous because these mosquitoes carry at least 20 different diseases, including yellow fever. They're typically ranked among the world's 100 worst invasive species. Number 3. Tegu Lizards. It's a black and white reptile that can weigh around 30 pounds, measure 4 feet long, and is known to have powerful claws, jaws, and very sharp teeth. It's native to South America, but more than 100 sightings of the critters have been reported in Florida. Wildlife experts think it was first introduced into the ecosystem by a lizard breeder who released his collection of animals into the wild. They've since been breeding throughout the state, where Florida's climate is similar to that of its native habitat. But in 2020, they were also causing an invasive nuisance in the state of Georgia. Since the tegu's population can rapidly increase, they pose a direct threat to native reptiles and amphibians by outcompeting them for space and food. While the lizards aren't typically known to be aggressive, they will defend themselves if they feel threatened. So experts caution people against attempting to capture or kill the animal. Call a professional trapper instead. Number 2. Nile perch. Measuring more than 6 feet and weighing up to 400 pounds, these fish are regarded as one of the planet's most notorious invasive species. They're native to freshwater lakes and rivers in Africa. After being introduced to Lake Victoria in 1950, their population exploded in the 1980s. With such large numbers, these fierce predators caused the extinction or near extinction of several hundred native species. The Nile perch can cause substantial damage due to its appetite for creatures that support their ecosystems, like crustaceans, insects, and zooplankton. In Australia, it directly competes with the native barramundi. Number 1. Burmese Pythons. This beast ranks as one of Florida's signature invasive species. They first started showing up in the 1980s, and their population has ballooned ever since, with many of them now found in the Everglades. Because irresponsible pet owners would start to get scared of their python and couldn't take care of it, and released it into the wild. These serpents have been taking out native animals like raccoons, possums, and squirrels with a cold-blooded efficiency worthy of the Terminator. The threat to indigenous wildlife is so severe that the Sunshine State authorized a hunting program to control the numbers of this beast. Even though the program has resulted in a lot of captures, an estimated 100,000 of the animals could still be slithering about in the wild. Number 9. Penitente. If you walk up the side of a high-altitude glacier, you might catch sight of spiked ice. From afar, it is truly mysterious how this strange array of spiked ice could form, but the explanation is pretty simple. These so-called penatites generally only form alongside glaciers that are well above sea level, like the Andes, because the air is so dry. In this environment, sunlight can transform ice immediately into water vapor without first turning into liquid water. In chemistry, this is called sublimation. What starts as a flat blanket of snow becomes dented in various spots because of the sublimation process. This only increases as the spots become further dented, heightening the disparity from mound to mound of snow, eventually forming large spikes. Because they occur at such high altitudes, these are hard to see in the flesh. If you're interested, there is a field of them in the Atacama Desert as well. Number 8. Moeraki Boulders. If you're ever travelling to New Zealand, be sure to check out one of the most unique natural phenomena in the world. The Moeraki Boulders are big rocks that wash up around Moeraki's Kokohi Beach in New Zealand. But their size obviously isn't the dominant factor. These rocks are almost perfectly spherical and can weigh several tons at a time. Because of this, New Zealand's government protects this beach as a natural reserve. These boulders weren't born yesterday. In fact, scientists think that they came into being around 60 million years ago. They're a geological display that are visible because of the erosion from the ocean activity on the shoreline. There are apparently still more boulders in the mudstone waiting to be revealed through erosion. Ancient Māori legend maintains that these boulders are the remnants of a ship, the Aye Lemur, that washed ashore after a wreck. The other features of the shore represent different aspects of the same legend. Have you ever seen the Moeraki Boulders before? Let me know down below, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already joined us. Number 7. Giant permafrost explosions. Over the past few decades, scientists have started seeing something shocking. Dozens of large craters in the Siberian permafrost showing up as seemingly out of the blue. Permafrost is a soil that remains frozen at all times of the year in really cold places, just like Siberia. Some of these craters are quite large. For instance, one permafrost explosion in the Tsingy Peninsula is around 230 feet wide. Shockingly, some are saying that these craters are actually the result of big explosions. Residents from nearby villages have been reported saying that they heard an explosion-like sound, and another even claimed to see a light flash across the sky. But is this true? The culprit likely isn't some ice bandit, but rather the changing climate. Because of increasing Arctic temperatures, the permafrost is thawing, along with methane frozen inside it. When the permafrost thaws, it releases the stored methane gas, eventually becoming so pressurized beneath the ground that it causes an explosion. There are other theories, but this one seems the most likely. How wild is it that the ground can just randomly explode because of frozen gas? I definitely would not want to be around when that kind of thing happens. Number 6. Sailing stones. In California's Death Valley National Park, there are a number of heavy stones that seem to move across Racetrack Playa, a rock bed of the lake that's gone dry, of their own accord. People think this because the rocks leave trails in the mud that seems to show you what direction they've been heading. What would you do if you turned around and saw a stone moving in your direction? You might think that a ghost was out there trying to get you. Of course, this seems outlandish, but it's a reality in Death Valley. This has caused quite a stir of conspiracy theories. Some blame it on aliens, others on esoteric magnetic fields, and the list could go on. To add to the intrigue, no one has actually observed the rocks in motion, but in 2006, NASA scientist Ralph Lorenz figured it out. It would be more accurate to say that the rocks are floating across the mud at the bottom of the lake bed. Here's Lorenz's example. Freeze a rock in a sheet of ice, then place that sheet on top of a water tray with sand on its base. In order to get the rock to move, all you need to do is blow, and the rock leaves a trail in the sand, just like the stones in Racetrack Playa. So even gentle breezes could be capable of moving the rocks along the sand, provided that the conditions were wintry enough to generate a bunch of ice and water. People who like the conspiracies seem to resist this explanation, but I guess you just can't convince everyone. Number 5. Lenticular clouds. When you catch a sight of a so-called lenticular cloud, you'd be hard-pressed to see anything else other than a UFO spinning in the sky. But you probably won't be able to see the lenticular clouds in any old place. In fact, they tend to pop up near mountains and mountain ranges. When you look at the clouds passing by, you usually see a dog or a plane, among other things. So next time you visit a national park, be on the lookout for the clouds from out of this world. How are lenticular clouds formed? There's a fascinating story to tell. Air is constantly moving around the Earth, and along the way they run into big obstacles such as mountains. This creates areas with a lot more air activity called eddies. Air filled with water flows around mountains, so when it encounters these eddies, it results in a bunch of oscillating waves of moist air. If the temperature of the air at the top of the wave is enough to be dewy, called the dew point, it will condense, otherwise it will evaporate. And it's this series of waves that create the wave cloud. These clouds are pretty foreign to those who don't live near the mountains, which might be why many people have claimed to see UFOs around mountains, but they're actually just another one of nature's wonders. Have you ever seen these lenticular clouds before in real life? Let me know down below. Number 4. Volcanic lightning. Did you know that when a volcano is erupting, it can also shoot out large bursts of lightning, leading to a magnificent but terrifying light show? It may seem like we're just adding insult to injury, but humans have been recording instances of volcanic lightning for years. Volcanoes are threatening enough on their own. If one erupts, then a fiery hot magma puts the entire area surrounding it in serious danger. But lightning would only intensify their danger. When some volcanoes erupt, they eject a large column of ash called an eruption column or a volcanic plume. The volcanoes that emit eruption columns are the ones that also display volcanic lightning. The ashy particles in the eruption column are extremely dense compared to the atmosphere above the volcano. So when they're ejected, the erupted particles scrape against each other, and through this friction, the ash becomes charged with electricity. When this happens on a big enough scale, some pieces of ash will become positively charged, others negatively. These repel one another until they reach a breaking point, and then you get a big bolt of lightning that connects the two set of particles. Volcanic lightning is a sight to behold, but they show that something deadly is occurring, so it's probably just best to watch it on a video. Number 3. Blood Falls. Located in Antarctica, Blood Falls is a 5-story waterfall that looks like it flows with blood at first glance. This might look exceedingly gruesome, but there is no need to worry. In fact, it's just blood red water. When it was initially found, scientists thought it was red because of algae, but the story is actually far more interesting than that hypothesis would have you believe. There is a 2-million-year-old lake which is home to an ancient group of microbes that is sealed underneath the Taylor Glacier. Because they're under a large thicket of ice, they've been preserved this entire time. They've been untouched by the outside world, and because of this, the trapped river has retained its salt and iron content, which is what tints the water red, just like blood. The glacier has a thick fissure which ekes out the ancient body of water little by little, while also guarding the ancient microbial community inside. Of course, some have said that this could mean there are ancient bits of life locked below the surfaces of extraterrestrial bodies, like Mars. There is very little evidence that suggests this is the case, but it makes for an interesting thought. Who knows where life can thrive? Number 2. Black Sun. At many times in the year in Denmark, you can see one of the most magnificent sights the natural world has to offer. Hundreds of thousands of starlings flying together in an immense flock formation and dancing across the skies. One can spot it in multiple places across southwestern Jutland, but the flocks are largest around Tonda and Ribe, where the number of birds can occasionally reach close to 1 million. The event occurs at sunset and tends to last around 20 minutes, and the Danish call it sort sol, meaning black sun, because the amount of birds in the sky makes it seem like the sun has gone black. Why does this event occur though? It happens when the starlings come back from the north during migration. On the way back, they stop at Denmark's Wadden National Park to take a break from their long trip. And while they search for a place to rest, they dance together in the sky. While sometimes the flock can be about 1 million starlings large, they tend to break up at around 500,000 birds, because there are too many chaotic disturbances in the flock. Some predators have even tried to invade the flock during sort sol, but the sheer numbers of starlings are able to drown them out. Have you ever been able to see sort sol in person? Please let me know in the comments below. Number 1. Fire whirl. The fire whirl is a whirlwind that forms in the middle of big wildfires. They're typically composed of ash and/or fire. Tornadoes are beasts of nature. Most often, tornadoes form in the midst of thunderstorms when the sun heats the ground faster than the clouds. Once the heat rises, they form tornadoes. But while these intense columns of supercharged air are dangerous, they can't hold a candle to the fire whirl. Since the fire tornadoes don't go all the way from the ground to the clouds, they're not properly considered tornadoes, but they do come about in a similar way. When flames start to heat up and stir with winds close to the ground, you've got yourself a recipe for a fire whirl, and they can be deadly. The worst of them can reach up to 400 feet into the air, grow up to 50 feet wide, and send gusts of wind up to 300 miles per hour, all while maintaining a heat of up to 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, I agree. You might not want to go storm chasing with these bad boys. Fire whirls also start horizontally, giving them a wider range of attack. As it gets hotter and quicker, it may break away and change orientation quickly. This means that fire whirls are capable of inflicting a whole lot of damage in a short amount of time. Not only do they have the skies covered, but the horizons as well. For these reasons, fire whirls are even more dangerous than your run-of-the-mill tornadoes. Thanks again for watching. What's the weirdest natural event that you've ever seen in person? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell to stay updated on all of the newest videos.